Hi guys, today we will be discussing on the topic of corporate social responsibilities. But before that, let me introduce our group, which consists of Adira Eng, Nur Khadijah binti Hashim, Nur Farisa Akila binti Omartin, Regina Farisha Anak Bingo, and Sarah May Michael Raja. Today we will discuss on the definition of corporate social responsibilities, its history, sustainability, objectives, triple bottom line reporting, externalities, social auditing, the practices in Malaysia, and the benefits of CSR.
So, what is corporate social responsibilities? It is a concept whereby organizations consider the interests of society by taking responsibility for the impact of their activities on customers, suppliers, employees, shareholders, communities, and other stakeholders, as well as the environment. For the history of CSR, it is based on systems-oriented theories and political economy theories. Systems-oriented theories is also referred as open systems theories. These theories are often used to explain managers' motivations to make non-financial disclosures. For example, to provide information about the environmental implication of various corporate activities, although they could also be used to explain voluntary financial disclosures. Within a system-based perspective, the entity is assumed to be influenced by, and in turn to have an influence upon, the society in which it operates. Those are the employees, industry bodies, consumers, government, investors, public, media, interest groups, and suppliers. While for political economic theories, it is the social, political, and economic framework within which human life takes place. The argument is that economic issues cannot be investigated in the absence of considering the political, social, and institutional framework. There are two streams of political economy theory which are classical and bourgeois. Classical considers class interests, structural conflict, inequity, and the role of the state, while bourgeois concerned about interactions between groups in an essentially pluralistic world. Legitimacy theory, stakeholder theory, and institutional theory are three theoretical perspectives that have been adopted in reference to the systems-oriented theories and political economy theories. Legitimacy is the status or condition which exists when an entity's value system is congruent with that of society. Legitimacy theories often rely upon the notion that there is a social contract between the organization and the society in which it operates. Social contract represents the implicit and explicit expectations that society has about how the organizations should conduct its operations. Legal requirements might provide the explicit terms of the contract, while other non-legislated societal expectations embody the implicit terms. The three broad phases are often identified are first, gaining legitimacy phase, where it is about the liability of newness and acceptance of community won through communication. Second, maintaining legitimacy phase. In this phase, it emphasizes on the need to anticipate changing community perceptions. The more the organization treads on its legitimacy, the more important it is that the organization protects it. And thirdly, repairing or defending lost legitimacy phase. It is often a reactive process to unforeseen crises. Much of the legitimacy theory related research relates to this phase. Next one is stakeholder theory. There are two broad branches of stakeholder theory. This being the ethical moral or normative branch and positive or managerial branch. There are many similarities between legitimacy theory and stakeholder theory. it should not be treated as two separate theories, but two overlapping perspectives of the issue set within a political economy framework. Ethical normative branch of stakeholder theories means all stakeholders have the right to be treated fairly by an organization, while for positive branch of stakeholder theory, it attempts to explain when corporate management will be likely to attend to the expectations of particular stakeholders. Lastly is the institutional theory. This theory provides an explanation about why organizations tend to take on similar characteristics, form, and processes, including similar reporting practices. The two main dimensions of institutional theory are decoupling and isomorphism. Decoupling is where, although managers might see a need to be seen to be adopting particular structures and practices, actual organizational practices can be very different from the formally sanctioned and publicly pronounced processes and practices. Isomorphism refers to a constraining process that forces one unit in a population to resemble other units that face the same set of environmental conditions. The three different isomorphic processes are coercive, mimetic, and normative. Coercive isomorphism arises where organizations change their institutional practices because of pressure from those stakeholders upon which organization is dependent, and it is related to the positive branch of stakeholder theory. For mimetic isomorphism, it is where organizations copy other organizations' practices for competitive advantage and to reduce uncertainty. Uncertainty is a powerful force that encourages imitation. And lastly, normative isomorphism. It is where particular groups with particular training will tend to adopt similar practices, and non-compliance could result in sanctions being imposed by the group.
Sustainability reporting consists of few stages, which are the why stage, the whom stage, the what stage, and the how stage. For the first stage is the why stage. The why stage consists of several theories, which are the legitimacy, stakeholder, accountability, institutional, and positive accounting. The next stage is the whom stage. The whom stage focuses on shareholders. The managers are motivated by a desire to increase shareholder value, then reporting will be aimed primarily at satisfying the expectation of powerful stakeholders. On to the third stage is the what stage. The what stage consists of several categories, which are the demand for information, the dialogue with stakeholder, and the needs and expectation. These categories is derived into various channels, which are the face-to-face, opinion polls, and questionnaire. The last stage is the how stage. The how stage consists of several limitations, which are the objectives of general purpose financial reporting, consideration of materiality, definition of elements of financial reporting, practice of discounting future cash flows, issues of reliable measurements and possibility, short-term result, and entity assumption. The objectives consist of two, which are the social and environmental reporting process. For social, it provides information about labor practices, for example, occupational health and safety, training and education, and diversity. It also provides information on human rights performance, in example, child labor and non-discrimination. And the last information is about product responsibility performance. And for the environmental, it could include the provision of information about such items as material usage, energy usage, water usage, emissions, compliances with environmental regulations, and use and impact of transport.
Moving on to the triple bottom line reporting. Triple bottom line reporting was defined as reporting that provides information about the economic, environmental, and social performance of an entity. The first dimension in triple bottom line is economic performance. The perspective taken is that for an organization to be sustainable and must be financially secure, which means to be profitable. The second dimension is environmental performance. A review of GRI guidelines shows that various indicators have been developed to facilitate environmental reporting. Indicators relates to such issues are materials, energy, water, biodiversity, emissions, effluents and waste, supplier environmental assessment, environmental grievance mechanism, products and services, compliance, transport, and overall. The last dimension is social performance. The social dimension of sustainability concerns the impact of organization has on the social systems within which it operates, which are human rights, product responsibility, society, and labor.
Another approach to accounting for social and environmental impact is to place costs of the externalities generated by the organization and then deduct this cost from accounting profits. The definition of externalities is an impact that an entity has on parties external to the organization where such external parties did not agree or take part in the action causing or the decision leading to the cause or benefit. It can be viewed as positive, which is benefits, and negative, which is cost. As for the government intervention, it can be employed as a means of placing costs on the use of resources that might otherwise go unrecorded. Moving on to sustainable costs, Gray and Babington state that sustainable costs can be defined as the amount of an organization must spend to put the biosphere at the end of the accounting period back to the state it was in the beginning of the accounting period. We will now move our focus on the important social and environmental issue of climate change. Climate change represents one of the biggest risks to the planet. There are various accounting issues for climate change. For example, how do we account for emissions and how do we account for assets and liabilities associated with schemes such as cap and trap scheme. The next topic is social auditing. A social audit involves stakeholder-based engagement with the aim of determining whether the organization is perceived to be operating in accordance with stakeholders' expectations and where improvement in performance are considered necessary. The result of a social audit will often form the basis for information presented in the social report or in a social reporting component of a sustainability report. Organizations can do social audit to try to ensure that they are maintaining high ethical standards, or they can be used after social problems have already become known. If an organization is serious about maintaining high level of social and environmental performance, then its corporate governance should reflect this aim. The governance mechanism might include stakeholder engagement mechanism, executive reward linked to sustainability-related KPIs, implementing a rigorous environmental accounting system, policies of social and environmental evaluation for all major capital investment decisions, environmental policies that are clear and communicated, board structure that include managers, waste management policies, and supply chains audit.
Moving on to the practices in Malaysia, it includes employees' welfare, which focuses mainly on staff training programs, staff positioning, and staff welfare. Community activities are where companies disclose on community donations, sponsorship, on government campaigns such as anti-dada, sponsorship of sports and games events, cultural and art activities. Environmental protection is where communities disclose on recycling of waste, water pollution, air pollution, and noise pollution. Product and service improvement or contribution must relate to whether the product or service contributes to the well-being of the customers and the community at large. Other voluntary disclosures include corporate mission, corporate achievements, and value-added statements. The benefits of CSR include enhanced relationship with stakeholders, enhanced company influence in the industry, attracting, retaining, and maintaining a happy workforce, differentiating the company from the competitors, media, interest, and good reputation, saving money on energy and operating costs, access to finding opportunities, as well as increase in customer relation. Okay, so that is all from us. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.